Big topic for the day. We've been building up to it. We've been dropping in little teasers throughout the day, but I think you guys are going to be the grand finale because we're talking Web 3.0, right? And specifically, we're looking at how Sport5 and Polygon are actually building kind of digital strategies for the future, right? So I'm very happy to welcome Malta from Sport5 and Anthony from Polygon, who are going to discuss their partnership and all things Web 3.0. So I'll let you guys take it away. Warm round of applause, by the way, please. Welcome them to the stage.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Anthony. I am co-founder of Polygon, and today I'm here with Malte to present our recent partnership with Sport5. At the end, well, Malte will present maybe later better Sport5, but in Polygon we are in infrastructure layer, and our idea is to scale Ethereum. Okay, otherwise it's impossible to grow and to become mainstream. That will be our main objective. And maybe you want to say some words about Sport5?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Malte, very happy to be here. So I'm running the global business development department at Sport5 globally. And Sport5, as probably many of you know, it's a global sports and entertainment agency with more than 1,300 employees all around the globe. And we are really excited for what we'll have to share with you today about the partnership with Polygon to bring innovation in Web3 and Metaverse to rights holders and brands alike.
Okay, perfect. Then let's start with the presentation. If you can please run this video.
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music. It'll do internet. It'll do email. It'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
Okay, maybe the sound was a little bit difficult to understand, no? But the idea here is, when internet was born, it was for closed environments. I don't know, maybe some of you are really young, but when I was studying, internet was only for my own university, and then after that it expanded to a World Wide Web, let's say, and this has unleashed a lot of opportunities on content, on media, on creating this huge knowledge pool and interaction with other people around the world. No? Then, in our case, what is happening is we have seen how everything has evolved, okay, from the World Wide Web that I just was describing. Then, afterwards, we have seen, especially after iPhone, no, in the midst of the 2000s, how we were able to become mobile. And in fact, we have more power nowadays in our hands than we had 20 years ago with 10 different gadgets. And now we are arriving to this time of Web3, the blockchain technology, which basically is the born of Web3, and which this basically means is that you are able to transfer ownership. Okay, this is what makes this different, and what can at the same time trigger a lot of opportunities. We have seen already tokenization assets, supply chain, payments, but here specifically we see a huge potential for everything related with the sports, with IPs. This is something that we'll develop later, and for this reason we are, as Polygon, very interested on this concept. Basically, what we have seen is that in the past, when there has been an infrastructure, some players like Apple or BlackBerry, they were able to drive a lot of traction on top of it. And this, at the same time, this has created a better user experience, like could be the 2G. And right now we are already in the 5G, which is making our life very easy. And we are able to do things that 10, 15 years ago were not in our mind. Basically, how we are today. I mean, if you are aware, Bitcoin was born in 2009 in the middle of the financial crisis. In fact, it seems that Satoshi was writing this white paper, and he created this whole concept to avoid the financial system. That's what the main idea. And this concept of Bitcoin at the end, what unleashed was the creation of a blockchain. I mean, the idea that through a chain of blocks, you are able to store all the transactions and keep it in a very solid layer. After that, obviously, new competitors rose until basically another big factor was, or another big step forward was Ethereum. And the reason is because it allowed the smart contracts on top of it. And a lot of developers, they were trying to create tools on top of the Bitcoin chain, but it was impossible. And in fact, Vitalik Buterin, who is the inventor of Ethereum, after being very frustrated with Game of Craft, or World of Craft, I think it was, a video game, he decided to create his own chain to implement a smart contract. After that, there was some hype in 2015-16, especially the ICO time. And last summer, we went to a peak. Now we are in a crypto winter, what they name. I think that's not relevant because we have seen a lot of hype, a lot of companies not really doing or not delivering product, but companies that are delivering infrastructure, now they are growing. And we see that the more solid projects now, they are having a lot of impact and a lot of attention from possible customers. What has happened during these months? And for example, in the case of Polygon, maybe you're aware, but we have closed deals with Twitter, with Starbucks. Starbucks is relevant because there is not another company with so many wallets in the world. And a lot of people, especially in the US, they use this app to pay in the shop. Reddit, Meta. I mean, if you go to Meta, the NFTs are already on top of Polygon, Disney, Coca-Cola, or Adobe. I mean, what we are starting to see here is this is becoming mainstream. As I was explaining this morning, it's true that when there is some innovation, nobody wants to be the first, but everybody is ready to be the second. And this is precisely one concept that we are trying to trigger with SPORTBIZ. There are another brands that are trying to test and attract new fans. I mean, Netflix, of course, Nike, B&B. I mean, we see that this is a general trend, it's the new buzzword, and we are trying to attract these incumbents to blockchain. Nevertheless, it's true that in gaming is where we see the bigger adoption, the most usage. I mean, this next generation, they are very used to this digital world, and you can see here in numbers, no, that we have 60 million of daily users, 260 millions of monthly ones, and the same apply for Fortnite. Nevertheless, it's also true that this is a drop, or this is very small compared what this can be if we are able to onboard, for example, the big sport clubs in the world. Why these fans are attracted to join or to build or to interact with a blockchain? That's a typical question. Well, first thing is if they go to the metaverse, they can meet the digital friends or they can make new ones because they can participate in loyalty programs, maybe through gamifying, I mean to receive rewards if they interact more with a certain partner. Obviously, they can buy and sell merchandise, and not only that, it can be a physical one where you are ensuring the traceability, but at the same time you receive an NFT that you can wear in your metaverse. You can create communities, and they can create their own personality in this digital world, in this metaverse. Here, it's true that when I think on that, no, I mean, for me, the metaverse is something that it looks very, very far away from me, but when I see my son, that he's already 15, he's totally embedded in this world, and for them is part of their experience, no? And this is all what it's providing until today, but we still think that there are more things that can be added on top of it. That could be this interoperability, the financial benefits, the ownership. These are things that are still in a very early stage, and that we think that through a concept on top of Polygon, they can still have a better experience, and we can develop these concepts on top of it. And why we are doing all these things? Basically because we have nowadays blockchain, no? That ensure this traceability, that through DAOs can influence on power, we can vote on top of it and ensure the governance of a community, because there are opportunities through the scarcity where people can try to obtain some value. It's very flexible. We aren't interoperable by design. By design, we are very agnostic, and we think that as we have 3-4 different credit cards in the future, you will operate on 3 or 4 different platforms depending on which one is giving you a better value. And more important than that, they feel that they are part of a community, and they can build a unique feeling on top of it. And this is precisely what the clubs are bringing to us with these huge community funds. And from here, I let it to my friend Malte.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, so after Anthony described you why blockchain will be a game changer for future fans to interact, both Polygon and also Sport5, we started to think at, if we look at the sports and entertainment industry, what are the main trends that we actually see, and how are rights holders, but also brands, how are they tackling these challenges? And if we look at it all together, we see 5 main trends that we believe will be coming up over the next, let's say, 12, 24, 36 months, and that will be quite relevant for rights holders to discuss. So the first one is the question, when you will deploy a blockchain technology, are you talking about marketing use cases, which is the one that many of us have seen over the last months and years happening, or are we really talking about real infrastructure use cases, thinking NFT ticketing, thinking building loyalty programs for your fans? What will be the use cases that will be most relevant for IPs going forward? The second one is that a lot of rights holders will ask yourself, what is actually the right blockchain to deploy your projects on? There are many blockchains coming up, and they are all with different value propositions, and we believe this will be a key decision for rights holders and brands to take going forward. Thirdly, if you look at what's happening in the marketplace, there are some rights holders who deliberately decide that they want to build their own branded experience on top of blockchain technology, and others who are a little bit more cautious and they want to rely on third-party platforms, like a Sorare is mentioned here, or a Socios is mentioned here, for instance, where they are relying on these platforms, third-party platforms, to basically commercialize the rights that they have. The fourth trend that we see and that we believe is really relevant for most rights holders to take a look at is that in the bear market in which we are currently in, the big money grab is over. The big minimum guarantees that have been put for sports rights holders for their license rights in regards to NFTs, we believe these times are over, and it now needs to be about real gamified use cases that are driving value to the fan in order to drive user adoption, in order to drive user engagement, and to eventually also drive revenue. And last but not least, we are also looking at hybrid products, where we are entering more and more into a mix of a physical and a digital world, and where these kind of products will be more appealing to the mass market fan or to the big fan to reach them. And when looking at these 5 different trends and having initial discussions between Sport5 and Polygon, we realized that in order to find answers to these questions that rights holders and brands will ask each other, we need to team up. We need to team up in order to build something for rights holders and brands that will be truly valuable for them, and that will be not only here in the short term, but also in the long term. And we're now here happily announcing our partnership, and there's a little video that we'd like to play next to show this. Okay, so that was cut a little short, but only 5 seconds, so I think you got most of it. So before I dive into how we want to do it, just a couple of facts why we believe that this partnership is really valuable for many of you in the room, because these are two clear market leaders that have come together. Sport5 is a company of today more than 1,200 employees, more than 15 countries. You look at the rights holders that we have, with many of them retained relationships from big confederations, federations in football, handball, basketball. We are looking at a big athlete roster. We are across all sorts of different sports, traditional sport. We are very big in esports and gaming, as you just heard in the talk before. And we are currently delivering more than £1 billion in revenue for rights holder clients, which combines sponsorship sales, hospitality sales, and in the future also Web3 related revenues. And if there is someone who really knows the sports business landscape like almost no one else, you need to have someone who also knows the blockchain landscape like no one else. And this is where Polygon comes in. And I think what is probably the two most important KPIs that you can see on this chart here is that Polygon, as of today, has more than 174 million unique wallets that are registered on the Polygon chain. And on top of that, Polygon is the blockchain with more than 53,000 decentralized applications built on top of that, which is also something that is very hard to match in this world. And on top of that, there are strong investors believing in them. They are carbon neutral, and we believe a very, very strong partner to develop applications going forward, which is why partners like Starbucks, Adobe, Meta, etc. trust them, and we believe also sports rights holders should be the next one to trust on this partnership. So how do we plan to basically bring sports rights holders and brands into the Web3 space? So we believe there is no one-size-fits-all. There is a process that you need to follow through. And Anthony and I were actually spending the morning discussing with some rights holders in detail, what are the specific requirements that a rights holder has, what are the business goals they want to reach, and then it's about developing, first of all, the right strategy to Web3 and Metaverse. Second of all is finding the right platform, and when I mean right platform, I'm referring to Polygon as a baseline technology layer, and then Sport5 as the ones who know the fans and who can do the communication to the fan and are also experts on commercialization. But it might be that there are also another parties from our network are needed, and this is the beauty of a partner like Polygon, who have such a wide network of partners who we can always bring in as expert agencies and then really find the right platform, the right front end, the right user experience, the right gamification in order to develop what is needed and what is wanted from that specific rights holder. Third is about setting up the right team. I think it's fair to say that there are still too little experts on Web3 and Metaverse in this world. and most of the times rights holders don't have the resources to build up huge teams. So this is where we come in, and we are building joint teams in order to really have all the expertise needed, from tech to marketing, to community management, to go-to-market, to fan communications, etc., to build a high-performance team that can really deliver on what is wanted from a rights holder. And last but not least, it's of course about execution and innovation. I think many people misunderstand that when we're talking about assets on the blockchain like NFTs, these are lifelong assets, so it's very important to have a clear plan how to execute, but also how to continuously innovate. And this is the 4-step approach that we believe is right, and that needs to be targeted to each and every individual rights holders. So now that I've described the process, I want to tell you why we believe this setup is really powerful with a combination of Polygon and Sport5, because the main claim that we have set out to use is that we will take away complexity from that constantly innovating, constantly evolving space by bringing two so experienced partners together. We'll have with Polygon experts on infrastructure, whether it's around smart contracts, wallet, AR, VR going forward. We have also experts in regard to access to the fan, and then through the network that we have, but also the experience, we can then, on top of the infrastructure, on top of the access to the fan, we can build activities, experiences that are engaging and retaining the fans, and hopefully creating mutually beneficial products that are also generating revenue. So almost the last slide, I think, to just go a little more into detail. So the way we set this up is that Polygon are a public blockchain with all the network and infrastructure capabilities that they have. And if you join on a project with us together, Polygon will be the one who will enable everything that relates to blockchain technology. So as you can see it here, we're talking about the integration within the ecosystem. We're talking about on-chain analytics support, so data on top of the chain, so minting or digesting the data from the chain, making sense of it, how can that be used, also integrating potentially with Web 2 data sources in order to create really holistic fan points of view. This is where Polygon has all the expertise and brings it in. They are, of course, at the core of what's happening in terms also of future developments in that space. And Sport5 is the one who will actually be the project management resource on site. We bring in a depth of experience in project stakeholder management, strategy development, engaging community, also Web3 communities. So we're working with big rights holders like an Atletico Madrid, BVB, Borussia Dortmund, Kansas City Chiefs, New York Jets on their community management to their fans. So these are capabilities that we are bringing in. And as I mentioned earlier, depending on the use case of the rights holder, we will bring in the right parties to help us if we need someone else in this equation, or if you as a rights holder have someone who's close to your heart and who you feel could add value to this. So yeah, I think this is almost on time about what we wanted to present to you. So from the Polygon side, Anthony and Philip are the ones who are in the lead for this partnership. From the Sport5 side, it's myself and it's Sorab, who you can, of course, contact. And what we have planned for the later evening of today, we'll now have a private session with a couple of rights holders that we invited to join us upstairs for circa 45-60-minute session, so where we can dive into very specific Q&As that we might have, in addition to maybe 2 or 3 minutes Q&A now. And then after that hour, so starting at 6 o'clock, we will open the entire floor. We'll be here the rest of the evening, or at least later in the afternoon, so you can hit up Philip, the Polygon team, myself, Anthony, the Sport5 team. And yeah, hopefully there will be a lot of curious minds and interesting conversations coming out of this.
Malte, can you come back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
Because as we have some minutes, I want to fulfill it, no? But I think what is important here, I mean, what we saw during the hype in 2021 is that a lot of chains or platforms, or they were somehow paying huge amounts of money, especially to clubs or to big companies, but they were not creating value, okay? And here our proposition, and we were analyzing different options, and we went with SPORT5 because they are the champions on his field, is because here the idea, we are not going around bribing or offering big sponsorships, because also that's not sustainable in time. And in fact, some of the companies that were doing that now, they are in bankruptcy, no? It's more, we are trying to create a value through NFTs, through ticketing, through data management, through loyalty and rewards program. All this that has been explained, no? But also I encourage you to reach out to us. We are already working on this with a lot of clubs and institutions around the world. We think we have the knowledge. We think this can bring value to your clubs. And yes, I mean, we are agnostic at the same time, meaning that it's not that we will impose, as some companies, okay, you should do this project with this dev shop or with this collectible company, whatever. We will bring always the ones that we think that are the best, because as you saw before, we have 53,000 apps on top of it, and we are able to choose and to pick up the right ones. And yes, I mean, after this call, after this speech, you are welcome to come on top and to discuss openly with us. Okay? Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much.